They bent empires to their will. They reshaped continents, commanded armies of millions, and carved their names into eternity. But even the greatest conquerors cannot escape the hand of death. Tonight, we uncover the final moments of history's most powerful rulers, reveal how their deaths shaped the world they left behind. He was just 32 years old, undefeated in battle, ruler of the largest empire the world had ever seen. But in the summer of 323 BCE, Alexander the Great fell ill in Babylon. Fever gripped him, his voice failed, and his generals gathered in silence at his bedside. Was it malaria, typhoid, or betrayal by poison? Historians still argue. What is certain is this: when Alexander died, he left no clear heir. His generals carved up his empire, plunging it into decades of bloody civil war. Julius Caesar, dictator of Rome, beloved by the people, feared by the Senate. His triumphs had reshaped the Republic and bent nations to his will. On the marble steps of power, he stood like a god among men. Power breeds envy, and envy breeds betrayal. In the shadows of the Senate, whispers grew louder, daggers hidden beneath words of loyalty. On the Ides of March, 44 BCE, as Caesar entered the chamber, more than 60 senators closed in. The Republic struck its own ruler. Even his closest ally, Brutus, raised the blade. The man who conquered Gaul and defied the Republic fell at the feet of his peers. The death of Julius Caesar plunged Rome into chaos. The Republic collapsed into blood and fire. Generals turned on one another. Legions clashed in the streets, and the city trembled beneath civil war. But from the ruins rose one man, Caesar's heir, Octavian. Through cunning and will, he ended the war, silenced his enemies, and restored order to a broken republic. When the dust settled, a new age began. Octavian became Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. From chaos rose the empire. To the Romans, he was the scourge of God. Attila the Hun crushed armies and burned cities from the Black Sea to the gates of Rome, leaving destruction and fear in his wake. Yet his death was not on the battlefield, but in his bridal chamber. In 453 CE, on the night of his wedding, Attila died suddenly, choking on his own blood from a burst vessel. Some whisper he was poisoned by his new bride, others that it was a drunken accident. Whatever the cause, his death shattered Hun unity. Within a few years, the empire he built collapsed into dust. The greatest conqueror the world has ever known, Genghis Khan. Born on the unforgiving steppes of Mongolia, he rose from obscurity to unite warring tribes under one banner. Through sheer will, strategy, and unmatched ferocity, he forged an empire the world had never seen. His armies built the largest continuous empire in history, stretching from the Pacific to Europe, from the deserts of Central Asia to the walls of China and the plains of Hungary. His riders thundered across continents. Their discipline, speed, and tactics reshaped warfare forever, leaving kingdoms trembling in their wake. But even legends die. The truth of his death remains shrouded in mystery. Some chronicles say he fell from his horse. Others claim he was struck down in battle. Whatever the truth, the moment remains lost between myth and memory. Mongol tradition kept his burial site secret. To this day, it has never been found. His bloodline carried his vision beyond his death. Cities rose and fell, nations trembled, and the shadow of the Mongol Empire stretched farther still. To this day, his name endures, whispered with awe and fear, a symbol of power, ambition, and the eternal will to conquer. Napoleon Bonaparte, once master of Europe, crowned emperor of the French, he humbled kings, shattered empires, and redrew the very map of the world. In the sands of Egypt, the snows of Russia, his name carried both fear and glory. In the end, he was not slain on the battlefield. He was caged by the very nations he once conquered. Stripped of power, abandoned by allies, the emperor became a prisoner, marooned on a lonely rock in the middle of the ocean. On Saint Helena, surrounded by guards and endless seas, Napoleon spent his final years in reflection, writing of victories, mistakes, and the betrayal of fate. Napoleon spent his final years under guard. Tormented by illness and regret, he died on May 5th, 1821, at 51, from illness or possibly poison. The self-crowned emperor now lay in solitude, far from the land he once ruled. So fell the great conquerors, not always by swords or arrows, nor solely by armies on the battlefield. Some were undone by betrayal, by creeping illness, by cruel exile, and by the relentless hand of fate. Even the mightiest, whose names once shook nations, could not escape the quiet forces that shape history and mortal life. They lived as giants, towering over the world, shaping nations and bending history to their will. Their names inspired awe. Their victories echo across continents. Yet in the end, their deaths remind us of a single, unyielding truth. Even the greatest cannot conquer death, power, glory, and empire, fate, but mortality spares none. If you want to uncover more untold stories from history's rise and fall, like and subscribe now to Ancient Flow. Join us for the next chapter.